All right, we are here. Welcome to Weirdos at Home, everybody. Thanks for stopping by.
Wow. Today is by the way, this is the heart and soul of the Weirdos at Home, Tara Brown. I'm not Carrie Wood, but I'm reading for that part from 1998 with my new haircut. A Chicago joke for our guest today. I can't even believe we got this guy here. I'm so excited. He's a Chicago guy. He's here to celebrate. Of course, we didn't know this until about 5 minutes ago.
We didn't realize it.
The year anniversary of Weirdos at Home. 1 year ago today, in the middle of the pandemic.
Congrats.
Thank you so much. By the way, Pat Finn. Thank you, Pat Finn.
What greater gift on our 1 year anniversary?
Right?
It was started in our dining room.
In an attempt to not murder each other during a pandemic.
Yeah.
So here we are, Pat.
Hi, thanks for having me. I feel like it's the 1 year anniversary. I should have had a sport coat or something just to jazz it up a little.
I know.
We're in Austin. We keep it weird down here. It's fine. You're just very dressed up for us.
So we were getting ready to.
Oh, okay.
We were talking before we started, and he was telling us he just did Matt Besser's show, who's a hilarious guy from UCB, improv guy. He's been, in so many movies I can't even tell you. Just when you see him. He did Matt's podcast, and he was telling us a thing where you didn't know that there's like an angle, or it just sounded funny.
I try to at least accommodate the hook, or if somebody we really want to gear this to dads or to whatever. And because everyone's just obviously different. And for some reason, I didn't know the exact format of it. And it's great, by the way. Matt's wonderful. He's a dear friend. But as we were talking, we then slipped into a bit, like a scene. And I had no idea. And I was like, oh my God, hey, oh geez. Okay, wait, all right, let's put the weight belt on. All right, we're working. All right, let's do this. But it was really cool. And you didn't know when it would transition in and out. It was kind of like we jump in the pool, then we get out and talk for a while, and then jump back in the pool.
That's so cool, man. That's so
that
cool.
Sounds like a good podcast format. Just it keeps you interested. It's a good.
Yeah, right. And we were on our toes for sure.
On their toes. They're on Family Feud last night, just killing it. On their toes. On their please.
I was laughing so hard.
That was
Syringe.
That was wild.
Syringe.
Man, that show, I grew up watching that show, and the different hosts they would have and how touchy-feely they would be.
Oh my gosh, remember that? Even as a kid, I'm like, is he going to grill everybody? It was just like...
He will kiss your mom and aunt and grandma on the lips. So just be ready.
Well, that's why we have Steve Harvey now.
And Steve Harvey's taking it in a whole new direction. He's hilarious.
I have to say, I wanted to point this out to Pat after seeing the clip or the game last night. What do you call it? You call Family Feud a match, Pat, or you call it a game? I don't know the language.
I would say match or
Okay.
A match or a game.
When Mr. Harvey got around to Pat's turn, it seemed like, and I don't want this to come off wrong, but it seemed like you guys shared some kind of secret, or you guys had some wild night together, like 10 years ago. Because when he walked up to you, he was like, "Pat Finn, what's up, my man?" And you were like,
"Right,
what's up, Steve?" And it was like,
"What happened there?"
Right.
Like what?
Matching tattoos years ago. Yeah, no, he was actually very nice. I think it's, a hard job for him to just meet all these different people all the time. But he was really super sweet and accommodating and had nice things to say on the breaks. And so it was just different because it wasn't like you're acting in a TV or a scene in a movie. It was really you, even though you were with your buddies. And it was confusing in that, they kept on, the answers, my wife's like, you got to watch a couple of these. Cause I've seen it in and out. And we turned it on and we're watching. I'm like, wait, 8 people, that was their answer for this, whatever they surveyed. So there's some wild, one of them, I think the first one was, this is a discipline in school. And he said the ruler. And I was like, wow, they just interviewing 1940s.
Right. Getting whipped in school.
Yeah.
Getting paddled.
Who are they
so
doing? They must have gone a retirement community that day.
Yeah, right.
Or something.
But you kind of had to think what you would gravitate towards and then go away from it and go somewhere else. So
okay.
You're like as a successful comedy mind, what would a not funny Mima say on the street? Let's go there. That has to be
So-
cool for Harvey, though, to have you guys on, like you, Keckner, Neil Flynn, Mike Coleman,
Yeah.
Deer Shark Minds,
Mhm.
legendary improv group. I mean, it's got to be a day off for him, right?
Oh yeah, it's one of those you just kind of have a respect, I think, for each other, and I think his stand-up's great. And I've worked with, I did a Ernie Mac show, and those guys came up together, and I worked with DL, so it was kind of cool that I'm just gradually meeting all the kings, and he was great. And again, kind of, my daughter goes, "That's pretty cool that you've done Celebrity Family Feud, and you've sang the seventh inning stretch at a Cubs game." I'm like, that's most improv groups don't have that.
Look at it. This is the hair on the back of my arm standing up, ladies and
It
gentlemen.
really is. He's not lying.
Oh wow. Yeah, so it's
You
very
can
cool.
tell
And St.
Cubs
Jude's.
fan. I think.
I know, it's awesome.
Well, I made the trek to Second City. I thought for
Nice.
sure I was on the fast track to SNL. They said we're fine, we're okay. So I
Do you
moved over to
validate?
Laugh Factory to do stand-up stuff, and then I realized I'm better at standing up for the black president than I am at being funny at all. So I went into politics for a while.
Wow.
But Pat had the run that you dream of when you go to Second City.
Mhm.
I mean, Dad, what was it like? I mean, I know you know, I don't want to do what everybody you've talked to on all these podcasts do, but you didn't want to audition for Second City. And there was a friend of yours who was really trying to get you to audition.
Yeah. It was. I ended up going to Marquette University in Milwaukee, and I kind of went begrudgingly because I wanted to go to the school on the East Coast and didn't get in. So I was like, well, I'll just go there.
Hey,
And I went,
what was
and
that,
as it
Pat?
turns out,
I've heard you say that on a
I applied to Fairfield University in Connecticut.
and you didn't do more to get into Fairfield.
I mean, at the time, you should have said I was on the crew team. It didn't happen. So I went to Marquette, which turned out to be the best decision ever because I played rugby, and Chris Farley and I became best friends there. And then I met my best friend forever, who's my wife of over 30 years now at Marquette. So it kind of worked out better than Fairfield.
Sweetest story ever. You made me think of Tara, my wonderful co-host and partner, when you were talking about your wife being like, "Have you been even watching game tape of Family Feud?"
Yeah. No, she's a great, for somebody who's not, it helps immensely. And she's not she's a civilian, I guess you would say, not being in the business, but she is by proxy. So things like that are awesome. I'm sure Tara's the same way.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, I was reading for a drama, and I'm like, "Can you read the sides with me before I'm going to the audition?" She's like, "Okay, sure." And she reads it, and it was very nice, and she was sweet to do it. And I'm done. And this is where it's kind of like teaching your wife golf. It's just it's hard to anything like that, or your kids' sports. And my wife goes, she goes, "Oh, that was nice." I go, "Nice? Like, did you like it, or were you impressed?" She goes, "No, it was okay." I was like, I'm going for a little more than okay, hopefully in the audition. And she said something to me which was the absolute truth, and I took it and it helped. And she goes, "It just seems like you're trying to act." And I was like, wow, what a great note. But it was simple because they know us, Terry, you know us better than we do. So it was very cool. But yeah, I went to Marquette. Chris and I went down to Second City to take classes. I chickened out and didn't go. And Chris was sad and bummed. And so I went to the class and I just tried it. Halfway through, the guy made me get up on stage, and it kind of went okay. And it was fine. And afterwards, I'm like, "Hey man, I snuck in this class." And he's like, "No, you're supposed to be here." And as a kid growing up, kind of like Wrigley, Second City you knew it. I mean, if you were thinking comedy or anything, Second City was the mecca. People come all over the country, if not world, to go to Second City. So my goal was if I could meet somebody on the main stage, was literally my goal. So
have a beer with somebody on the cast, right?
Totally. That was it. And so the fact that I went through all the levels, and then I tried out for the touring company, and they were hiring a whole another group. So it was the first time they've ever let in 6 people. And so I auditioned for that. And that was Colbert, Chris Farley got in, Rose Abdu, who's wonderful. Paul Dinello.
What about Tim? Boy, I sound like a jerk now. Tim Meadows, but I'll take it. But my God,
Yeah.
talk about your all-time fucking backflip. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If I don't want to upset Pat's mom, she could be watching, and I know she doesn't appreciate cursing in comedy. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It's funny. I did like the first podcast I ever did like 3 or 4 years ago. And this guy goes, "This is so cool because I don't cuss much, and I do. It's just like I just chose not to." And certainly, if my folks come to a show, I don't. But and it's just something I do. It's like a challenge for me. But he said he was so excited because we're not going to have the explicit mark on iTunes, wherever it was. And he goes, "Every one of my podcasts have been explicit. So it's just so cool to get the viewer something different." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's awesome. Let's do it." And he goes, "All right." And he started introducing me. And he swore like 7 times in the introduction. I didn't even say anything. And I'm like, "We've already lost the I mean, dude, I don't know how to help you with this."
Trying to help you, man.
Yeah, we've only messaged through the intimate forum known as Facebook Messenger, so I know we don't really know each other that well. But I gave Tara a whole thing where I'm like, "Look, Pat's one of these guys who he's not lazy enough to be just throwing around F-bomb. All right, so let's play it cool. Okay, when he comes, and then here I am just sweating it and going like,
yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Like even when my kids came to the show, it's that thing where it's like nobody be dirty or get blue, and of course you do. Like normally you won't, but I'm like, hey, my daughter here, she's 21, and the first scene I was in, like Pete Holney's starting to make me like a woman he's trying to pick up, and I'm like, "Hey, take it easy." Like, and he's like, "No, baby, come on." I go, "Oh, by the way, I have a kid. She's 21. Her name is Cassidy." And he's like, "Oh, shoot, I'm so sorry." But, so I remember Neil Flynn one time did a scene where he was like a batter and there was an ump yelling at him and just cussing. And his mom was in the audience and he's like, "Hey, ump, somebody's mom might be in the stands if you catch my drift." And he's like, "I'm so sorry." So, but yeah, so I ended up, I got put on the wait list to get in to the touring company. There was no movement, so I never got in. So I had to apply or re-audition the next 2 years and never did. And I went to Joyce Sloan, who was the kind of the producer emeritus and chief, den mother there, and just said, "Hey, I'm doing a show if you want to come sit improv show." She goes, "Yeah, let's check it out." So she did. And the next day she called me into her office and hired me. So I was the last person she ever hired.
Man.
So it's pretty goosebumpy.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's up there with hanging out at a little kid's birthday party and getting called for Seinfeld, right?
Yes. Yeah. That was another crazy. Again, it's like the cool thing about Seinfeld was it's the show my wife and I loved. Like that was our favorite show. So to be able to do it was just surreal.
That's how I feel talking to you here. I know my buddies of mine have gone out of their way to make it clear to me I need to quit kissing the butts of our comedy guests. But same thing though, Pat. Days I've been walking around going, "No problem, Joe, man." Like for weeks, just being like, I don't even know if he's coming on.
Right. This guy might be a ruse. I'll tell you what's wild about that's one of the only times, because we rehearsed it. And so Patrick Warburton was like the last guy who came up that I had a delegated job for. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's the only time I've ever like physically like been biting my lip, just like, because he said it so funny every time and he committed. And all of a sudden, I'd be like, make sure whatever, nobody puts a drink on the speaker. And he's just like, "Sure thing, Joe Mayo."
It's also the way he stands there that was always.
Yeah, he's a big guy, and but he's great. He's very.
Well, how was I want to know after you get back to the table read. From the table read, I know I glossed over the story as if I'm like Mel Brooks over here and I was in the room, but you get over the table read, back to the birthday party. You just go back to playing Pin the Tail and the Donkey, knowing you're going to be crushing it on Seinfeld.
Yeah, it was just like I said, just to be going to a birthday party. And then it's like there was an old bit like, I wonder what so-and-so is doing nowadays, right now at this moment. And the fact that in my mind, it's a Saturday, I'm going to a birthday party, and then I'm at an audition, and then I get it, and I'm at the table read, meeting the cast was like it was just surreal. I had the first show I ever did was the George Wendt show back years ago, and the show didn't go, but George and I became dear friends, and his wife and family, and Brian Murray was on it, and the whole cast was great. But there was a time that maybe the first week, and I'd never really been to LA, so I was never taking acting classes, so I'm pretty new to all this. And I go, God, what a perfect day to throw the football around. And this is where Hollywood's just Hollywoody. George is like, it's a good call. Hey, props. Yeah, can we get a football? And within like 9 seconds, he's got, I got assigned one, NFL one, college, Nerf, high school. So we just grabbed a football and we start throwing it around. And somebody starts talking to George about the scene. So I'm just kind of sitting there, just throwing the ball up in the air, and I hear this, hey, I'm open. And I thought it was like, a grip or something. And I turned like this, and holding his hands out is Steve Martin. And I'm like, wow, hey. He goes, hey. And I'm like, I never pictured him as an athlete per se. Yeah. So I just kind of did a little lobby. And then I had that whole Marsha Brady when she broke her nose. Like, I didn't want to be, that's the guy that broke Steve Martin's nose. Oh yeah, that's the guy. No, you remember that a few years ago? So, but it was one of those things.
Remember his name.
But I remember thinking my high school friends I wonder what Pat's up to today. He's probably throwing the football around with Steve Martin.
With Steve Martin?
Yeah, it's just such a crazy.
That's terrified of breaking Steve Martin's nose right now.
Yeah.
trying to finesse it to Steve Martin.
Right, but then when you do that, it's always a worse throw. So it's just
did I just insult Steve Martin with that throw?
Dude, I think that's why
do I ask him to sign it?
I think,
come on, man.
Now it's on eBay. Great. But here's why I'm such a big fan of Pat's is because he was a sports dude that got into comedy, and that was my route. I realized the NBA wasn't calling Pat at 5'10" or not, so I started doing open mic stand up and radio and stuff, and then was like, I think I can go to Second City and take control of Lauren Michaels' empire, and like we said, they said they were fine, and that's okay. But
I think you're right. I think for me, it feels like it's helped that I was an athlete or in sports. Certainly for physical things that have had to do with your grade or stunts or anything. Because I was studying to be a stuntman when I first got out as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in stuntman school and improv. I was doing both. So I got licensed in Illinois, and I've done a lot, which is kind of cool. But yeah, directors to me are kind of like a coach.
Yeah.
They have a good vantage point. So when they come over, I've had some actors that was a dumb direction. I'm like, he just saw it. Why don't you try it? I've always listened to directors and thought they're an advantage to have. So certainly doing a show or a play or anything, it's very teamwork involved, especially improv is so team oriented. So I grew up playing hockey and my dad used to coach us in that.
Hey, hang on. Let's do this together, ensemble style.
I like it. Yes.
I literally had the list of all the sports you grew up playing right here, and I was like, no, I want to say it.
Oh, go ahead for sure.
High school soccer, college rugby, I believe high school hockey, high school golf, caddied at the course based on Caddyshack. Correct?
Yeah.
It's
correct. I didn't play varsity. I didn't play golf. I didn't play high school golf though. I played golf, but I was more of a good. I didn't want to put some bad info out there. I get my friends calling me up like, dude. But yeah, I played rugby for Chicago. For Marquette for 4 years, and then a year for the Chicago Griffins.
I'll tell you what. This might be the. That's not an easy team to make. Those dudes are, let's just say this. In the 90s, you would have said they're Polish. They're very tough. They're
Yeah, looking back, I'm like, dang, that was a pretty rough sport.
How tall are you, Pat?
About 6 foot.
Oh, you mean movie star height?
Yeah, yes, I'm very tall for Hollywood. No, it's funny, even on that show, Keckner and Neal are pretty tall.
Yeah, I remember
So,
Kegner
yeah, so
came
it's-
to do a class, and Kegner was the most intense person I've ever met in my life. He came to do a workshop at Second City, and he gives us this whole 35-minute I don't want to say diatribe, but like a very to the point, don't break the rules of improv. And then the bit is you're at a diner and he's the waiter, and he just anything you order he says no to, and you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what you
Right.
want.
No, it's hard because people will come to like a Beer Shark My show and they'll be like, oh, I'm going to do that. And it's kind of like, we've done it for so long. We have the luxury of knowing each other so well. And Pete just kind of put that together. Pete Holney started the Beer Shark Mice, and he basically just wanted like 5 or 6 guys so we could get out of the house and get a beer. Like it was, and we had never worked together because we were always, we would get split up a lot because we were both physical. And so I'm like, well, I've been palling around with this buddy of mine, Dave, and he's like, well, I'm working with Coleman and I live with Neil. And we got another guy, Pat McCartney, and it just kind of worked out. We were trying to get Rachel Dratch, and then she moved to New York, and a couple other people fell out. But yeah,
It worked out because you guys are killing it on Family Feud. So.
Right. Now we're on the game show circuit. So yes,
survey says it worked out. No, but what I was going to say is I hope, my brothers aren't big fans of this show for no other reason other than they have lives. And my youngest brother was the runt on the Texas State college rugby team. And he's like 5'6", but he was the runt. And I wanted to know, like, what was it like playing college rugby at a time where it wasn't a huge sport?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's kind of akin to improv, where improv was all in these boutique theaters and nobody really did it much. I like I said, I played a lot of sports, and I was too little to play football in high school. So I played soccer. But it was like our team was every nationality in the book. We won Chicago Catholic League like every year, I think. But when I got to Marquette, my brother Kevin was there, and he was a senior, and he had played, and he's like a gazelle. He's super fast. And so I was like, oh, let's just kind of come out and see what I can do here. And I remember there was only 3 freshmen, and the other freshman was a guy named Chris McConnell, we called Queens. And we had done laundry the night before, and I'd never really done laundry before. And I remember, I'm like, there's something about like whites, and then the darks are over, something like that. And my friend's like, oh, cool. And we did all the whites. And then as we're leaving, he goes, oh, I should do my sweats. And so he took off his sweats and he put them in. So his red sweats, brand new, were now in the white area pile. So we were, and the weird thing is we're sitting there at the rugby practice with pink socks, and it wasn't just one guy, it was 2 guys sitting next to each other with pink white shirts and pink socks. So
at least you
at a rugby,
though, right, Pat? I mean, it was strength in numbers there. It was buddy system.
I agree. No, but it was great. Rugby was a great. It's funny. I went to Marquette. This is like a little fun fact my wife likes. I went to Marquette. I weighed 140, and I graduated 230. So I gained 90 pounds of knowledge.
It's all in the brain.
Yeah. So in rugby, the skinnier people are the runners. So I gradually just kind of kept on moving in towards the scrum. Like, oh, you're big enough. Now you have to go in here.
When rugby showed up at our high school, I was like, I just got my braces off. I'm kind of digging this. So I'm probably going to just stay over here on the basketball court until the open mic later.
Yeah. It's funny. I was out here, and a friend of mine was like, hey, man, you got to come out to Eagle Rock to try out or be on the team. So I went to a practice, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. I'd really like to play again. And then my wife was like, are you going to play? Because they needed a wing forward, which is the position I played. And I was like, I'm thinking about it. And then I'm like, no. And she's like, why not? I'm like, I just picture like in the first game, what if I break my cheek and I'm out for 5 months? Like, because we almost beat Glendale. Like, you know what I mean? It didn't weigh.
Pat, it's so funny you said
Not that this is the thing people are clamoring for.
No, my little brother that was the run on Texas State, he was like, I got this. They play LSU, like a 6'9" football defensive end.
Yeah.
Cracks his jaw just in a nice glide, just a nice, like it was nothing to the guy running the ball. And my brother just bounces off. I mean, jaw wired shut.
Oh.
The whole deal. The whole came back.
Yeah.
No. Didn't know when to stop.
Yeah. We played against some pretty big, a couple of guys that played in the NFL. Like, what are you doing here?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. A couple guys that played for the Chiefs. So, and the funny thing is that, Chris Farley was on the team with us, and it always kind of cracks me up, but it's funny when people are like, oh, Chris was an athlete, because you can't
do any of it.
Really great physical comic, without having skill. You can't just fall and flail and things like that. So he was a really good rugby player, actually.
I get accused often on the show, Pat, of losing my cool and doing Chris Farley's show. And one thing that I really makes my heart really grow is hearing that story, because Tara is constantly shocked that I was ever an athlete. That if I am to do anything with my body in the house at all, even step over the cat and then the dog consecutively without busting my teeth out.
He's just so clumsy.
Yeah,
but then I hear stories about how he was just this hotshot basketball player in high school, and he's even called up friends to like prove it to me. And I'm not putting two and two together. I don't see that.
But you already were with your lady when you were making all your college highlights, right?
Yeah, we met just turned 18.
Ooh, wow.
So yeah, it was so she see me do, play in, covered in mud at, rugby games. She see me do improv shows in front of like 6 people, 5 of which were probably my brothers and sisters. So she's always been supportive, which has been huge. It's a big part of all this, I think. Yeah, I'm lucky. She's from downstate Illinois, and
so you're an Evanston guy. I have to point out that you're an Evanston guy because my stepdad is an Evanston guy. And
very cool.
He found out you were coming on. He wanted to know where you went to school. He was at New Trier. He would have been a senior when you were a freshman, maybe, depending on the weird stalk
he's my brother
on the internet.
Right. I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters. So my brother Kevin would have been his age, which is very cool. Yeah. So I was born at St. Francis Hospital right there in the border of Chicago and Evanston, and I went to St. Joe's Grammar School, which is like a little kind of blue collar.
Everybody knows St. Joe's, Pat.
St. Joe's. And then I went to a high school called Loyola Academy.
All boys, right?
All boys, Jesuit. Yeah. So
my best friend who convinced me to go to Second City, who was doing Jesuit work in St. Louis when I got there, took me to Wrigley Field for my first time.
Okay.
Was from an all-boys Jesuit school, and then he went back to his all-boys Jesuit school, and now he's the guidance counselor.
Oh wow, nice. It's a really cool. It's funny. I did some like article the other day for a newspaper, and like we slowly kind of came to the realization that the Jesuit idea or concept in Catholicism is very much to give. It's very much education, but it's also to reach out to people in your community, to actually physically help, to do things that would help your fellow man. You're there for others. And it's kind of the same in improv, where you're there to make the other person look good. So it's really kind of it dovetails oddly well together. But yeah, so I and actually my son he graduated from Loyola High here in LA, which is kind of wild.
Oh wow, that's so cool, man.
Yeah.
We're going to Chicago for the first time later this summer. Well, her first time.
My first time.
Wait, first time ever?
Ever.
Oh wow. Okay,
I'm excited, and it's our first like couples trip too. We haven't.
Very cool.
Hey, we went to Dallas and San Antonio.
Doesn't count. I'm ready to grind and dine all across Chicago.
I will say, this is just my viewpoint. I think Chicago and San Francisco are the 2 cities I've never heard anybody say they didn't love it. Like architecturally, the people, the food, everything. And people have gone in February when it's freezing, and it's still, they come away with pretty great feelings about it. I'm always excited when somebody's never been there before.
Yeah.
It's like a kid going to the zoo. Like, that's an elephant. This kid's never seen an elephant.
We're so excited to have you on. We got some other Chicago people coming on. Kevin Riome, Jerry Miner, like some other Second City folks.
Oh, great.
But I can't tell you how crazy I'm going with excitement getting to take her to Chicago for the first time. It was originally supposed to be a Lady Gaga concert at Wrigley Field.
Okay.
Her deal, not mine. I know. But it was delayed again. And now she has to settle 4 days with her man in the greatest city on the planet.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's an amazing place to grow up. My wife and I lived there. It was like pulling teeth to come here, but obviously you got to fish where the fish are. And this is really, I've shot a few movies back there, which has been amazing. We went back last summer or 2 summers ago. With COVID, I always like, I jump a summer. But so it was the last day, and we're always pretty pulled going, friends and high school friends and college friends and family. And it was the last day and we scheduled nothing for that night. So we're like, this is just us. We can go anywhere we want. We can eat anywhere, do anything. And we have 3 kids, and the 2 girls, Cassidy and Caitlin, were 24 and 22. And they were like, we want to go to Second City. And I was like, oh, that's okay. You guys, you don't remember going? You went there. You've been there. And they said, yeah, no, I mean, we've been on stage and backstage in the green room and seen everything, but they'd never seen a show, which never clicked because obviously they were born when I was coming out to LA. So they would have never been to a show. So I called and said, are there any tickets left? They had 2 left. And so I was like, great, let's you guys, here's your tickets. Donna, my wife, and I are gonna go across the street and have like an appetizer, and then we'll come at like intermission. And I came in, and as soon as they saw me, they were nice enough to say, hey, Pat, Diana, who's Alexander, the head of Second City's wife, is on the bench. And that's kind of where like anybody that came in town sat on the bench. It was like this long church pew. And I was like, wow, I mean, Aykroyd's been on this bench, and there's pictures of all these famous people that have been on the bench. And so I'm sitting next to her, and we're talking with my wife and I, and it's intermission, and the 2 girls come over, and I go, how's it going? They go, this is awesome. And they just found out who we are because they know you. And so they moved us into the front row, and they say, drinks are free. We should come here like all the time. Like, I don't think that's the idea of it, but that was very sweet of them. And then they asked if I wanted to join the set, which is really flattering and cool because I didn't know them on stage, and they were so great and so funny. And I went and did the improv set at the end, which was really cool. And it was really cool to kind of, it was very circle back, Salvador Dali, whatever, that I'm on a stage looking down at my 2 daughters. You know what I mean? When I was sitting at their age, probably in those seats, looking up like someday. It's just kind of a wild circle.
I mean, Cameron Crowe, calm down.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, here's what I want to ask you. When you were like first getting involved around Second City and that famous Dorothy Wells intersection, and were you who were the guys who were just killing it at the time that you were like, oh my God?
Right. So I got there. It was like, Bonnie Hunt, Timmy Meadows, Joel Murray, Holly Wortell. Those guys, and Mike Myers had just kicked in. But it was kind of wild because Mike came from Canada and didn't have his visa yet. So he wasn't allowed to work on a stage because that would be payment. So he could do improv for free. So he would just jump up at everybody. So you're literally, learning to play hockey, and then Gretzky's coming in. So it was just amazing to work with him. And he's such a nice person, and obviously probably one of the fastest people I've worked with, but it was great. And then my group was kind of like, Chris Farley, Colbert, Carell, Tina.
I've heard of some of these.
Right, yeah. Adam McKay, Nia Vardalos, Ian Gomez, Keckner, Brian Stack. So it was really kind of an amazing, you look at some of the pictures of a show we did called Armando, and you're like, wow, every single person.
Now, did y'all
like it doesn't happen on
Second City, or were y'all doing Armando out at IO up on Clark?
Armando was out of the IO, but most of the people, if you were doing really good stuff at the IO, people found out. So you would go to Second City because
obviously I wasn't. So I mean, that's why
I don't know. You could check. Did you check messages today? You could, double check. I mean, you never know.
I want to point this out before we get into the fun Chicago game we have. I feel like had Joe Mayo been in charge of the CDC when the pandemic started, with his ability to delegate work,
For real.
we wouldn't have got this far.
Isn't that crazy? It's when it all kind of happened, I'm like, man, I don't know if America's like the best country to have a pandemic hit. Like it was just a crazy, Fauci's an idiot. Like, no, he's probably
Doctor.
Yes, read the book things.
Oh, a
So
doctor.
yeah,
Tara,
yeah,
I'm getting so nervous. I'm like crunching up paper.
It's
She has
like
to.
preaching. Crazy. Just sit on your hands.
Well, look, I didn't mean to.
on your
I've been
hands.
sitting on mine for 2 hours. I didn't mean to get all political, but as a performer,
Yeah.
first of all, do the women in our lives not deserve the Bronze Star, if not the Presidential Medal of Freedom, just for making it through?
Oh man, so I mean, it's when all this kind of hit. Our daughter ended up moving back, which selfishly I was happy about because she's going to get an apartment. I'm going to lose her a little bit, and that's great because she's getting older. But in the beginning we were like everybody else. We did every board game, and it's funny. I'm like, any board game we're not playing, we're getting rid of because it's just if we're not playing it during a pandemic, like that. Come on, that's it. But my daughter like colored, and we just watched a ton of movies and did all that stuff. So yeah, they deserve a big medal. I will say that like my favorite, like my joke in COVID, is for the first couple months, like the one sentence I heard nonstop was, "Oh, Dad, we're low on White Claw." So that was the Finn household.
You're like, what is White Claw?
Insert Tara, and that's what I've been hearing around here too.
Yeah, I'm like, I just got a 12-pack yesterday. Yeah, no, it's gone.
That's water. It's alcohol water.
Yeah.
We're kind of envious. You're out in California. We are still in Mad Max. We were given the warning today that the power may go out again across the state of Texas at any point this week. And it'll be fine this time because it won't be snow. It'll be 120-degree heat.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's the Wild West.
Well, what's wild is
now.
But you just had it, so you think they would have kind of figured something out.
You think, yeah.
Anyway, so that's why we had you on to ask you, can we just crash with you and the fam, or?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know if we're losing the connection. I don't know if the stack. You even hear me?
You're frozen.
No.
Of course, time he ever does the frozen thing, finally gets to do the frozen thing.
Yeah, the frozen thing. No, you guys are more than welcome. I'd love that.
Oh, quit it. Right. Sweetest guy in the world. I don't know if I was going to get into this, but I have to say, the way that Pat's story intertwines between being like the young, like Oliver from Brady Bunch with the Murray brothers growing up in Wilmette, then to like, be Farley's, voice of reason to some extent all the way through. And then, hey, I have to give Pat credit. I don't know if people realize this. He auditioned for SNL in front of Lorne with a Hosni Mubarak bit.
Yeah.
I always appreciate
it.
And Farley just sent him the tape. So I'm going like, what?
I think Chris was on their radar, and I think Chris broke his ankle jumping off stage. And like he couldn't physically make it to New York. So they filmed him. And I think Lauren had already scouted him before. He's pretty well aware of what's that?
And they were already looking at Farley through Sharna and the whole deal. And
yeah, they kind of they're like, who's the next person coming out in your mind? And usually they're pretty right, because Chicago's a great place to cut your teeth because the competition's fierce. Not that you're competitive, but there's a lot of people doing good and people coming in from all over the country. So it's a pretty big group of people and a lot of talent as well, which is good because it makes you better, but it can also be harder to make it. But no, Chris is SNL to me was, like getting a tryout for the Bears. It was, to be asked was ridiculous. Like there was like 10 of us that were asked. And I didn't, the only thing I'm not mad or upset about it, I wish I would have put myself in a better spot to succeed with the material. I just don't do impressions very well. And they wanted that. And it just kind of derailed, or just wasn't that great because it handcuffed me. And the bummer is Will Ferrell went before me, and he did an impression of like his uncle and then something else. And I'm like,
hey, who knows his uncle?
Right. But I'm like, he didn't do what the heck?
What?
So
no, I mean, look, hey, it was to me, and trying to track those steps while keeping a day job in hacky politics. I mean, you were there at Home Run Derby. I mean, for Lauren to be looking through the little hole in the paper and then to pull it down. I mean, that's all. That's the story.
it was crazy. The other impression that I did was really obscure. I knew Lauren likes the Yankees, and I think he's a sports fan. And there was a sports guy from Chicago, and he did a little time in New York, and then he went back to Chicago, and he was kind of a legend in that he was like a caricature. And I don't know if you remember him or have ever heard of him. His name is Chet Kopic. And he just was this like 6'8", enormous guy, red hair, and would interview people.
Right.
But he would interview somebody like, Michael Jordan. And he would start off like whatever the show was, welcome to the Sports Roundup. I'm Chet Kopic. We got a wonderful show today. We got a kid out of North Carolina, plays on the 94-foot hustle. He works the round ball, the circular zeppelin, if you will, the hoops, tickling the twine. Michael Jeffrey's the middle name of this kid. And he just talks for like 6 minutes. And then like he'll go to commercial. There was no question. But it's just hilarious. So I did him, and it didn't go super well.
Apparently that he's my spirit animal, apparently, when it comes to hosting. So
could be. I will say here's a little fun fact is years later, I was on an email thread with like 6 people, and he was one of them. And so I emailed him. And I was like, hi, you don't know me. I'm with the whatever, we're doing the same charity thing. And I said, I got a story I want to tell you about you. And of course he wrote me, he called me back, and I got to tell him I did that, which was really cool. He's like,
that's so awesome.
Yeah, isn't that great? It was such a like bizarre.
And maybe it's a Chicago thing where people are like, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I do? Yeah, call me.
Yeah, maybe. Just kind of good hometown.
Well, we're getting close to running to the end of the hour. So are you down to start this game?
Sure. Tara, I feel bad. Like my wife's not here. I would have had you come in. You could ask my wife a question. You could ask me a question too.
It's okay.
All right, good.
And that's when Pat Finn stole my girlfriend.
Right, yes. Right there on Zoom. It's all recorded. See right there, Your Honor.
Me at a bar watching the Golden Globes. There they are. Look at them together.
Beer Shark Mice on an episode of the dating game.
Yeah.
It could have been me. Not Pat Finn. The other one. It's called the Pat Finn Chicago game.
Pat Finn Chicago game. I'm ready.
Okay. Question number 1. Murphy's Bleachers or the Cubby Bear?
Murphy's Bleachers.
That's correct. That is the right answer. That is correct. It's question number 2. It's Chicago Air Show or Taste of Chicago?
Taste of Chicago. Just because it's so great. The air show is awesome. I mean, it's hard to, but it's kind of.
What is the Chicago Air Show? I can piecemeal together the taste of Chicago, but
it's like every city has like an air show. Not every city, but a lot of them do. And in Chicago, they do it where there'll be like an old Red Baron type plane, and everyone gets on the lakefront, and they'll do it over the lakefront, so that it's all safe and nobody's in trouble or in danger.
Pat, I love that you brought up the Red Baron plane, because I walk out of my first ever class at Second City. It's late summer. I turn that corner on Wells, and I look up, and there's a Red Baron plane going straight, spiraling towards the ground. I'm like, everybody, look off! And they're like, it's their show, easy. Yeah.
No, the entire city just goes and gets way too much beer and goes to the lakefront and just sits there and looks at the sky. And it's an excuse to drink. It's like, you're drunk. I was at the air show. But it's Blue Angels, all this different kind of thing. We did it one time. I did a movie in Vancouver, and it was I think it was called Space Buddies. It was like an Air Bud kind of movie. My favorite thing about the movie, well, first of all, the cast was amazing, and Robert Vince, the director, was great. But I got to keep one of the 6-month-old purebred golden retrievers.
Oh my God.
It was like the greatest movie perk ever. I was like, I was going to take socks, but this is actual.
So like in lieu of a paycheck, here's a puppy.
Like, I was asking the grips guy to find me a football. Now I've got a puppy.
Came back with an animal. So the place we stayed at was called the Sutton Place. And they're like, oh, do you have Sutton honors? And I'm like, I don't know, I don't. And they have hotels in Winnipeg and Calgary and Toronto and Vancouver and Chicago. I was like, oh, that one's okay. That would interest me. Yeah, I'll sign up for it. I signed up for it. And I get like a statement. And I was like, wow, I stayed there for like 3 weeks, but I got 30,000 points. I don't know if that's a lot. And I called the thing and they're like, yeah, you can stay in like the penthouse suite for a weekend. And I'm like, really? I mean, I can't imagine the only person that stayed somewhere for 3. And what happened was they made a mistake. It was supposed to be 3,000 points and they put 30. And I was like, well, then that's not, it's not right because I didn't stay there to accrue that much. So that's not, and they're like, no, it's our mistake. So you can have
to now. You have to live in the penthouse.
Yeah, I was like, wow. So we ended up staying in the penthouse. And so it was 2 stories, doorbells, everything. And my wife and 3 kids, and there's only one other room next to us, and that was Ice Cube and his group, which was insane. By the way, Ice Cube doesn't know the wet towel for the marijuana trick, just whatever. It was like a dragon was in there. You'd go to the elevator, just like, now I have to get a bag of chips.
Oh my God.
The cool thing was, it was the air show. So I called my friends and had them come over because we're on the 30th floor. So you're like, you can see the pilots. And so it happened to be the air show weekend. So, but I'm still going with Taste of Chicago. That's got to be the longest answer in the history of.
No. That's why we're here. That's why we do this show. That's why we.
Okay.
We sprinkle local Austin comics struggling in between folks that we look up to for popular projects. That's kind of our whole chemistry. And man, that'd be so cool. So they're going by Top Gun, and you can literally give like the.
Yeah, and some of they'll go like this, and it's like, wow, it's.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, let's break the news to her now, Pat. We're probably not staying there, babe, in Chicago.
I can't get there so any other way now. I'm sorry.
You'll see like
you can
where you're like,
there's
oh my God.
No, there's so many great places to stay.
Okay, question number 3. This was important, and this is for guys like you and I, and I hope that's not insulting to you. He's like, sports metaphors. A good way to communicate or the best way to communicate?
Being like with your friends or your spouse? Spouse? And it's the best way to communicate. What was the other one?
It's good or the best. This bit is already ruined. Let's just talk about sports metaphors.
No, I would say good. Because I don't know. That's a hard one. Like, I've done it with, with my kids, I've done stuff like that. I'm like, that's tough. It's a 7-10 split. And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
That's so deep. Deep bowling.
I know.
He does a lot, and he does it. He'll have the guts to whip one out like in the middle of like an actual serious conversation where I'm trying to like, this is how we're feeling, and he'll just whip one.
Do you remember Michael Jordan's flu game?
Yeah.
You want to talk about pressure? I'll talk about pressure.
That's pressure. Scottie Pippen had to carry him for a little bit.
Yeah. So I've had to learn to adapt. Luckily, I am a sports fan. I raised in a family of 2 girls, but my dad was just, they'll be tomboys.
He's a hockey guy.
He played hockey, football, soccer, all of it, tennis. He was even into. So luckily, when we met and he started throwing those out, I think I surprised him by being knowledgeable enough to get the gist.
That's always a plus, isn't it? Right, when you meet a lady who gets you and also knows the stress of being an athlete.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, our kids have all kind of played sports, and they're. I remember I was with my daughter Cassidy or Kate. I can't remember which one, but we were at the beach, and she's maybe 17, and they played volleyball. They're in shape and all this stuff, and football came kind of near us, and these like 4 or 5 boys were like, "Hey, Mister, can you throw the football over?" And it was Steve Martin's son. I'm kidding. I was trying to get a spit on that, Tara.
I know.
You almost ruined a good laptop, Pat.
Took all my strength to be like, no, he did not.
I was like, yeah.
But so I was like, yeah, sure. And I picked it up and I just kind of threw it to my daughter. And she threw like this perfect tight spiral. And they were like, whoa, that was kind of cool. Like, They just didn't know. But I'm lucky. My wife is from Springfield, which is half Cardinal fans, half Cub fans. So that she's a Cub fan has been amazing and awesome. So we went to the World Series and we watched a bunch of the games there, and we watch them here. So it's, yeah, sports are a fun thing, but there's a fine line between serious conversations.
Note.
Message received, Pat. I gotta tone it down with the sports metaphors. Got it.
I'm excited. I'm a big baseball fan. I had no idea when I booked the trip, but we're gonna be there the weekend that the Sox play the Cubs. So we're gonna try to go to that game.
Oh, that's
one
awesome.
of those games. Yeah.
I want to get through these last two questions, and I had some follow-ups. Mike Ditka or Phil Jackson?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one.
I know, that's why we're doing this.
Yes. I mean, Ditka just because it's such a cartoon and he cracks you up. I mean, I love Phil Jackson because he's the Zen and what he did. Like, I don't know if anybody really else could have done what he did, so it's kind of crazy. But Ditka, I was probably more of a Bears fan, and I've met him a couple times, so it's just kind of funny. I haven't met Phil.
Not yet.
Phil just right behind you right now.
Yeah, he walks in. Hey.
Okay, the last question, there maybe some follow-ups just because we're having so much fun. The last one, I think the most important question on the Pat Finn Chicago game. An Italian beef sandwich or Chicago dog, and why?
That's a tough one. I mean, I love a Chicago dog, obviously, but Italian beef, you can't get it here. You can't get it anywhere but Chicago. I've never. Can you get it there? Yeah, no, you just can't. No, it's a it's such a good. I haven't done it with a hot dog, but you know what a combo is?
Mm-hmm.
Where you get the Italian beef and then you put a Polish in that.
Oh my God.
So then you're kind of checking boxes.
By the way, spoilers, Pat, I was saving something for Tara when we get to Chicago, but I guess.
Sorry.
No, it's good. I know I need to prepare my body, my mind.
Honestly, so she's been doing research about where she wants to check out and everything, and I'm so gung-ho and giddy, and we've been debating, when you do the Italian beef, do you do like Al's or something, do you do full dip or the half dip?
I do half dip and then I get jardinere.
That's what that's too.
You just gotta have something. You can't have like when it's all just like a rag doll.
I watched like a YouTube video about it, and when they dunked that entire sandwich in,
but you can't. But it's not functional, right?
Yeah. Then it becomes like it's like matzo soup all of a sudden. It's just kind of a funky.
Thank God.
And my wife loves. I don't, but my wife loves the sweet peppers.
Oh yeah, I'm a fan.
Those are really good. But jardinere for sure.
Yeah, it's nice and mellow. I can't eat spicy food anymore. Too many Democratic losses now. I wanted to ask Pat before we get the Wiener Circle.
Yeah.
Can you get her ready for that?
It's did you guys ever have Ed DeBevick's down there?
No.
Okay. It's where like the waitresses would sit next to you and kind of be like, "What's with that shirt? I don't like it." Like that was kind of a bit.
Yeah.
Well, this is like that on steroids. It's just you walk in and they just rip you apart. They're not happy you're there. They're gonna make fun of everything that you're wearing or everything you're with. Here's a weird little like fun fact is that we would go when we were back in Chicago in the mid 90s, and one of the girls that worked there liked me. And so she wouldn't allow anybody to be mean to me. Isn't that so funny? And we'd go in and my wife's like, "Oh God, she's here."
Pat, you're walking into the Wiener Circle, you're the only guy not getting roasted.
Yeah, and then they would kind of they'd get mad at my wife, like, "You guys still together?" Like it was just this. No, and then she's like, "Why do we come here?" Like it's just.
Oh, I see you brought her. Okay.
Yeah, but the food's great. I mean, the food's great, but it's just the insults are insane.
I went there with my mom. I remember I was working at like the Obama office during the day doing Laugh Factory spots, writing apology letters to Second City, and went with my mom and they're like, "She got auto for you, isn't she?" And I was like,
Wow, here it goes. Yeah.
So what's your advice for me? Do I just take it? Do I even try to say anything back?
You just take it. I mean, that's what most people do, and if you're good at it, it's almost like a rap style. If you can
She's
dish
not.
it out.
She's not. It's fine.
Oh, all right. Yeah, most people just kind of take it, and it's a hot dog. So
you are. No, that's you.
I know you are, but what am I? But I wanted to say, yeah, Wiener Circle for sure. Harry Carey's is great because the food's really good, actually. Butch McGuire's is one of my favorite because I know Bobby. And the one thing I would highly recommend is not that you've even like asked me, so I'm sorry. Just
No,
you're the guest, Pat. Please.
Is the architectural tour.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So it makes you sound worldly, and I'm not a big like museum guy or anything like that. It's 45 minutes. You go up and down the river.
That's what
it tells you all about the city. It's one of the coolest places to see the city, and there's a bar. So
it's funny you mentioned that. I found that online and I brought it to him, and I definitely want to do that.
Oh, nice, good.
Yeah. So
it's really cool.
Our hotel is luckily right on the river, so I think they're gonna pull up not just like a couple blocks away. Let's do it.
I found Pat. I tried to help her find the hotel closest to Billy Goat Tavern, so I can make that sprint as soon as I walk out of the door.
There you go. That's it. Take for sure Billy Goat and Old Styles. Like it's not anymore, but it used to be their beer.
Yeah, I got very close with what turned out to be a mob hitman in the witness protection, drinking Old Style.
Really?
Yeah.
That was my job before I got picked up by Second City. I worked on a keg truck, and then I was a sales rep.
I thought you were going to say you were a hitman for the mafia.
Wouldn't that be funny? Like, wow, we really got a good scoop here.
Like, but he's so sweet.
Like, he's literally never said
but
anything about that.
Right. I'm the hitman that doesn't swear. But yeah, I'm trying to think of somewhere else I just thought of. Oh, Navy Pier is great. There's so many great. I'm jealous. It's gonna be so much fun for you guys. It's really cool.
Yeah, we need it. I'm ready to get out of Texas. It's falling apart around us. So something new.
And you can walk everywhere. There's so many great neighborhoods. See Second City show.
I think we're gonna do that like the first night. Is go to Second City.
Absolutely.
It's really cool.
And most of the night we'll go, I threw up there. I threw up there.
Yeah.
Pat, it's been so cool to talk to you for an hour, man, to come on. This has been so awesome. Hang on for a minute when we wrap up, but please give anyone watching this any advice at all now that we're in the new times.
You mean now that we're kind of back to hopefully normal?
It sounded better in my head. It sounded like more dramatic. I don't know.
No, I'm with you. I mean, my thing was like when all this happened, if I had a phone call, we just start walking around the neighborhood. And I was walking like blocks and blocks and blocks. And the one takeaway was that more than ever, people would be like, hi, like they'd wave to you or they'd be more accepting of other people. And even the mailman had come up and you thanked your grocery store people. So hopefully that continues because I thought it was kind of a cool thing to have happen, like just an appreciation for everybody. And obviously it's kind of like the Chicago winters. I always say that the summers are so good in Chicago because everybody earns their summer. Like everybody collectively, black, white, short, tall, woman, man, everybody was -5 for 7 days, so they kind of earn it. So hopefully we can come out of this with a little bit of a positivity and appreciation and acceptability, which would be kind of cool, I think. That's probably like the most unfunny answer to the question.
No, Pat, no, it's perfect.
No, it's what everybody needs to hear right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all, gross. I got nothing. I have nothing. I'm sitting here with a comedy legend. I have nothing. The pressure, my God. I feel like doing the comedy over here.
I will say it's funny. There's a friend of mine who's a producer went in to pitch some movies to Sony, and we were talking. And he said when he sat down, they're like, "Don't even think about pitching anything other than comedies," which is kind of wild because 9/11. Certainly, any time there's been a tragedy like this or an occurrence like this, people naturally tend to look for comedy. or just laughter to just kind of escape, I think, from everything. So hopefully, Beer Shark Mice will, get some gigs going and tour around. And I think it's funny. There's a company that I kind of started as like a lark with a friend of mine, and it brings improv to like businesses and stuff.
Cool.
But like we're getting calls now because they're like, yeah, we've been Zooming forever. We want to get our group back together and we want to have a laugh or two. So it's kind of cool.
That's really cool. That's really cool. I think, Pat, hang on for a second. We'll wrap it up here. We will be back. Pat, do you know a guy named Kevin Rione from Second City? Maybe a little after you.
Yeah, I've heard the name for sure.
He's going to be on Wednesday.
Very cool.
Keeping the Chicago thing going. We're going to keep that going. Hey, thank you so much for coming on. Hang on. We'll wrap it up.
And thank you everybody for joining us.
Tara Brown, I'm Stan Slade. That's Pat Finn.
And